Jimmy on the beat, boy. Jimmy on the beat, boy. Jimmy on the beat, boy.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the GSN Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, John J. II, here on a Wednesday, Ash Wednesday, the holiest of Wednesdays. As you can see by the ashes I'm wearing on my forehead, this marks the beginning of Lent for my Catholic people. In the Catholic faith, this marks the beginning of Lent, time of sacrifice, time of solemnity, time to bring ourselves closer to the Lord. And that's what this time is all about. And we're happy to participate in it. And it's very deep in its meaning. So today marks the beginning of that. 40 days and some change leading up into Easter for the Easter celebration for the rise of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So we got a great show in store for you guys tonight. Looking forward to it myself. A lot to unpack, a lot to uncover, as we always do. We always have that in store for you guys. And you got me all to yourselves tonight. It is just me, solo, going over these topics. And it's been a minute since we've done one of these. So I figured we bring ourselves back to center, especially what better time than Ash Wednesday to do that. So we're going to do that here for you guys tonight. Got a lot of big changes coming to the podcast scene here at GSN. A lot of new guys, new faces will be joining our various shows. New sports are on the horizon. We got hockey that is heating up. We got NBA that's heating up. March Madness is on the horizon. MLB, they're already in spring training. They're coming back. We're looking forward to opening day as that's on the horizon. Listen, the weather is getting nicer. The weather is getting warmer. And we're very happy to be a part of it and to share in the good weather. It's actually pouring rain right now, which is it's a breath of fresh air compared to all the snow we've had. But in all honesty, I was talking to a family friend of mine earlier today, it really has been somewhat of a modest winter. So we haven't had the worst of winters. It's been cold, but as far as snow goes here in the mid-Michigan area, it hasn't been too bad. So I really don't have any complaints. No complaints in my department. We will be heading north here in about a week's time to go enjoy the great white north, which is Sault Ste. Marie, Canada. And we're going for a snowboarding trip up there with the boys. So I will be MIA during that time. I will be in the waves on social media and whatnot. But as far as podcasts go, I will most likely be MIA. So be on the lookout for that. Updates, etc. So let's start with the NBA. So we got an NBA check-in. We got to talk about the Detroit Pistons, which are on an absolute heater right now, 35-27. Back in early January, I placed a $1 bet. And I'm not big on futures bets just because I think it's mostly throwing money to the wind unless you have a lot of good insights on what's going on with in and around the league in question. And in this case, NBA is not necessarily my forte. So I'll be passing that off to some other individuals to dive deeper into that as the season progresses towards the playoffs, towards the finals. But I figured the hometown team, the hometown boys, Cade Cunningham and the crew. Okay, you got Jaden Ivey, you got a couple great, and I'm not even going to get into it right now. They got a lot of great athletes on that team. But at this point in time, they weren't doing the hottest that they've ever done. Definitely way hotter than they were doing last year. We don't even want to talk about that. That's a year we forget about. But they were doing great, and they were approaching reaching an even record. Even amount of wins, even amount of losses. We're nowhere really to be found in the major power rankings, but they were heating up. I could kind of see them revving up their engines. And that's exactly what they've been doing. And it's great to have Tobias Harris back. Isaiah Stewart is in the fold. And they have some great athletes. Okay. And they got Dennis Schroeder that's just joined the squad. So we don't have to dive into the anecdotal stuff within the team dynamic itself. But I saw them heating up. So what did I do? I placed a $1 futures bet on them in early January for, can you believe this? The odds plus 100,000. Okay. Now you got an opportunity to make some cheese. You're looking at the odds. You're looking at plus 100,000 of a team that is not dead in the water. I don't care what sport we're talking about. I don't care what sport is on the table that we're discussing. You throw some money on it. In this case, I threw $1 on it. Could have threw $5 on it. Whatever, what have you. So $1 to win 1,000 essentially is the odds. And now I checked this last night, and the Pistons to win it all are plus 35,000. So that's a 65,000 decrease in the odds markets. Okay, not too shabby. Could be pay dirt for me, but to win it all, to call it even from here on out, is really kind of far-fetched. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to make any crystal ball predictions tonight. But they're looking good. They're looking great. They face the Clippers tonight in Los Angeles. Going to be a hell of a battle. They beat some great teams, though. They beat the Boston Celtics. They fell to the Nuggets, which that was a tough L to take. Okay, that was a tough L to take, but it's an L that they took. Okay, they beat the Nets. They beat the Jazz. They beat the Celtics. And to be honest with you, they've won their last 10 of their last 11 games. So if that's not a heater, I don't know what is, and especially considering the abysmal performance they had last year. You want to talk about a minor setback, major comeback? This is it. This is it. You've got it. Okay, they beat the Bulls twice in a row. They beat the Hornets. They beat the 76ers. They took an L to the Cavaliers and the Hawks, but they beat the Mavs, and that's, I believe, when they still had Luka Doncic before he transferred over to the Lakers. But they're on a heater. They're looking good. They're feeling good. They're healthy. Isaiah Stewart's day-to-day, and Tobias Harris is out. But we're not concerned about that because the depth is there. The depth is there. They have the players. They have the team. And listen, they've been waiting to do this for a long time. Okay, Tim Hardaway Jr., Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren. Okay, Dennis Schroeder, Marcus Sasser, okay, Jaden Ivey, which he is also out at the time. But Cade Cunningham, led by their fearless leader in Cade Cunningham. Cade has been waiting for this to happen to this team. He's been waiting for this to come to fruition for this team. And he's held true. He's been steadfast with the Detroit Pistons. He hasn't jumped ship when the going gets tough, where he easily could have. He easily could have jumped ship and say, hey, listen, guys, it was a good run, but I'm out of here. Okay, I'm on to bigger and better things. I have a lot more potential to do bigger and better things elsewhere. And that's what I'm going to do. No, wrong. That's not what he did. He stuck it out in Detroit, and now it's finally coming to fruition for him. Really happy for the kid, and he deserves it. He deserves it. In other news, Kyrie Irving suffers a season-ending ACL tear against the Sacramento Kings this past Monday. He proceeded to go to the stripe and shoot 2 free throws in which he made both of them. Okay, devastating for Kyrie, especially leaving the Mavericks with not too much of a leg to stand on. They have Klay Thompson left. They got Max Christie. They got Anthony Davis, obviously with the trade with Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. But that's not too much of a leg to stand on. You were kind of hoping to keep Kyrie moving into the postseason because the Mavs aren't doing too hot right now where they have a lot of that time and they have a lot of that cushion when it comes to their record to be able to withstand a significant amount of losses. Okay, if we just take a look at the standings here, it's kind of anyone's game in the West except for OKC, LA, Denver, and Memphis. Okay, you got Houston with 37 wins, Golden State with 34. But the Mavs are sitting there at 32 and 30, which they're right there on the bubble when it comes to the wild card statistics. So they're not in that top 6. They're actually 10th in the Western Conference, which is not where you want to be, especially losing Kyrie in a very pivotal point of the season. And the Phoenix Suns are just outside the bubble. They're looking to get inside that top 10 in the West. So I might have to pick some people's brains on that when it comes to NBA insight and what that entails. But I know this for a fact, that losing Kyrie is not something you want at this point in time in the season. So Klay Thompson, Max Christie, Anthony Davis, you're going to be able to stand on a leg. You have a leg to stand on. But through 50 games for Kyrie Irving, he averaged 24.7 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, and 4.6 assists. I mean, that is a role player. That is a facilitator, and we know him to be a facilitator. Doesn't matter what team he's playing for. He's going to take on the opponent, and he's going to have an effect on that team, on that offense. He's going to have that team chemistry. He's going to be the facilitator. He's going to be the guy with the ball with the plan. We know Kyrie to be that guy. That's going to be a big missing piece for the Dallas Mavericks moving forward. Okay. In some college football news, we got to talk about Bill Belichick. Obviously, he's been in the news, the headlines recently. We're thinking maybe he's going to jump ship. Maybe he's going to take another NFL deal. I guess that's still on the table. Really, we don't want to count anything out. But looking at it as we see it right now, he is still the standing coach for the North Carolina Tar Heels. And he is a guy that is a no bullshit guy. Okay, he's going to look you in the eyes and he's going to say, hey, this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to get it done. If we don't get it done, someone didn't do their job. Okay, so he's very steadfast in that mentality. He was when he got all those rings in New England. And I got to assume he's going to take that same mentality in a Chapel Hill. So this is the statement released by Bill Belichick today. Basically, he's saying this in a nutshell. Okay, so he doesn't have any expectations. So I'll just read the quote. I don't really have any expectations. It's going to be up to each individual. I know we've got a good plan. I know we can do the right things to put a good product on the field. Everybody that buys into it wants to be a part of it, will be a part of it. And if they don't, they can go somewhere else. That's their decision. He knows how it works in the NFL. He knows if they don't like how shit's going, they're going to jump ship and they're going to jump to another team. basically the same program with a transfer portal. I think it's the biggest load of crap that we've seen in the modern era when it comes to sports, which is the transfer portal. Eliminate the early window, only keep the December window. I talked about with Sam Vitale on a podcast about a month ago. If you're going to have a window, have one window. Okay. I think you should still require at least 2, if not 3 signatures from coaches, coordinators, staff, personnel, etc., before they are allowed to just jump ship, because that recruit was given those accolades and that clearance to be on the team was not given. That was earned. That was earned. But at the same time, it was also given with privilege, not to just be thrown away willy-nilly or say, I'm going here because they're going to pay me 10 mil in NIL. No, that's not how it works. Okay. There's got to be some loyalty. There's got to be some accountability for that loyalty. So that's exactly what Bill Belichick's saying. He said, if you guys don't want to stay here, I'm not gonna handcuff you to the rail. I'm gonna hold the door for you on the way out, because if you don't want to be a part of this program, you're nothing to me, basically. And there's something to be said about that, because I got to think, if I was in Bill Belichick's shoes myself, I'd be thinking the same thing. I don't want to keep anybody that don't want to be there. But at the same time, there's got to be accountability for that privilege that has been given to any player, any recruit that has earned their right to have their name and number on that roster. So that's all he's saying. He's putting the decision on the individual themselves. He goes on to say, Belichick said he has been encouraged by the team's progress since he's arrived. Though he said the early days of spring practice haven't yet offered many insights. It's still very early. But unlike his time in the NFL, the 72-year-old Belichick said he's expecting to use the spring as an opportunity to develop players through contact and physicality, particularly in the run game and along the line of scrimmage, something that was difficult to do during mini camps and OTAs in the pros. Okay. So we got to wait and see. We're too far out. We're too far out to have any real insights, to have any real ideas on how this team's going to perform with full pads on. And that's a fair assessment, I think. Fair assessment, fair take. And you move with the punches with that information that's been given. That's all we have for college football. We're going to be updating you more in accordance with the Gin College podcast and how that progresses. We only give you sprinkles, tidbits here on the GSN. That's what we do. Sprinkles, tidbits, breaking news stories, stuff that's at the top. That's what we give you here. The stuff that's more underneath the surface, that has its own show for that. Okay? So stay tuned. Moving on, staying in the college scheme of things, talk about college basketball. It's heating up right now. It's almost March Madness. It's almost at the conference tournament time. I'll actually be up north when that's taking place, so I'm excited to be up north, maybe have a couple cold ones, and we're going to be watching some great basketball in the conference tournaments around the league, primarily talking about the Big Ten. Okay, talking about the Big Ten, in which tonight, Maryland, the beautiful Terps that they are, helped give Michigan State a share of the Big Ten regular season title with a win against Michigan. Okay. Now they're going to say, oh, yeah, little brother, they got us this time. Well, I tell Michigan fans to look in the mirror and ask them who the real little brother is. Because all I've been hearing is that Michigan's a football school. Okay. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but that seems like it's been the case. It's been the case since the John Beilein era, which he was the last real coach at Michigan. Okay, now I'd say skip one, and now you got Dusty May, which isn't a bad replacement. But he's got a long ways to go before he's in Beilein territory. Just going to say that. Okay, so Michigan, they're in a little bit of a slump right now. Okay, and that happens to teams. It happens to the best of teams. Okay. Can't happen at this point in the season if you want to, give your big brother a run in the Big Ten tournament. Okay, you can't be faltering at this point in the season. Okay, if you're just playing for a bid or for a mid-range seed in the big dance, that's your own prerogative. But you got to be looking and digging a little bit deeper than that. Let's take a look at the AP polls, though. Number 1, Auburn, that remains unchanged, sitting at 27-2. Duke, 26-3, sitting at the 2 spot. That's unchanged. Houston moves up a spot to the 3. Tennessee at 4. Florida at 5. That's probably going to stay the same because I believe they just won against Alabama at Alabama. So that's a hell of a win, 99-94 for the Gators in Tuscaloosa. So that's a big win for the Florida Gators. Big win. They will probably stay at 5, if not go lower. 6, St. John's. Wow, Rick Pitino, St. John's at number 6, 26-4. Alabama 23-6. That's soon to change. Michigan State unchanged at 8, 24-5. Texas Tech and the Red Raiders 22-7 at 9. And the Cyclones of Iowa State at 22-7, dropping a spot. Okay, and you got some other teams in there. A couple Big Ten teams sitting in the top 15 rather. Wisconsin at 12, Maryland at 13. They're surely to jump up in the statistics as it stands right now. Now, these AP polls, how do they become so prevalent in ranking teams? I don't know. I really don't know. Someone took the bull by the horns and said, "Hey, we're gonna make a ranking system. It's like KenPom. Okay, it's like KenPom. We're gonna make a ranking system. We're gonna make it based on metrics that we decide, and that's gonna be the paramount when it comes to ranking teams. Okay, and they're gonna put a little number next to their team name on a scoreboard whenever they play a team in the regular season, or whether it's in the Big Ten or whatever, SEC, Big 12, Big East. We're gonna put a number by it, and that's gonna be for us. That's for us to know." Okay, so AP, the Associated Press, they have basically secured that. It's the same for football. But what's interesting about the AP, and maybe this is by design, but they have really no true allegiance to the NCAA. There's no connection to the NCAA within the AP. They're an affiliate to the NCAA and to college athletics. So just a little bit of an interesting anecdote. We look at it, we basically use it as gospel when it comes to ranking teams in college sports. Especially speaking on football, basketball, etc. Mostly the income bringing sports. But it's just an interesting aspect. Something I wanted to talk about, something I want to bring attention to. And I will do that every chance I get. Mind you, I will. Got a big weekend coming up in golf. The Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill, the historic venue for this tournament, which is the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Want to take a look at some odds, and obviously we're heating up, getting close to the month of April, which we all know what that is. That's Masters month. So we're inching towards that. But we have to acknowledge the fact that the PGA Tour is arguably the best it's ever been. Okay, and that is because we have so many golfers that have denied and declined offers for LIV. And that's a good thing because they are taking pride in light of potentially earning more money. They're taking pride in the legacy. They're taking pride in the tradition behind the PGA Tour. And we're seeing rising stars rise to the top in the process, which is a beautiful thing to see. So Scottie Scheffler at plus 320 to win. Rory McIlroy plus 750, which has found his own in the year 2025, the year of our Lord. Became a basically reborn golfer, a reborn athlete in the sport of golf. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. Ludwig Oberg plus 1,600. This guy's I wouldn't even call him a dark horse. This guy's a light horse. Okay, this guy's basically 10,000 lumens on a stallion. Okay, he's everything but a dark horse. But plus 1,600, don't let that number fool you. Okay, this guy has very high potential to win. Sitting at the same odds mark, Xander Schauffele, plus 1,600. Colin Morikawa, plus 2,200. Hideki Matsuyama, plus 2,500. Justin Thomas, JT, he's so due for a win. He's so due. My boy JT, plus 2,800. Patrick Cantlay, plus 3,000. Tommy Fleetwood, plus 3,500. And the list goes on and on. Tell you what, there is, in the plus 5,000 mark and beyond, there are some really serious dark horse names in here, which I am inclined to put some money on. Let's just put it that way. Inclined to put some money on, maybe put a little bit of coin on them because they have potential. A lot of these guys have potential to go off. Who's going to rise up? It's very similar to college football, actually. Very similar. Actually, very similar to a lot of other team sports. And that is because you have to wake up. You have to brush your teeth. You got to eat your Wheaties. You got to get your ass in your mode of transportation and get to the venue, right? In the correct mindset. So hopefully whatever supplements, vitamins, pills, substances, etc., that you have ingested going into that, day of competition, hopefully the chemistry is correct. Because if it's not, something's going to be off. Period. End of story. So those are all things that we have within our control. If we can control those things, if we can control what we are dealing with in our own psyche, then we can decide on how prepared we are to compete on any given day, any given moment, in any given weather conditions. So who's going to be that guy? Who's going to be that guy? It could be Tom Kim at plus 7,500. Could be Denny McCarthy at plus 9,000. It could be Minwoo Lee at plus 9,000. It even could be Billy Horschel at plus 10,000. Aaron Rai plus 11,000. These guys have the potential to go off at any given time. In that same breath, we got to talk about a new league, which is basically an arcade-style league. TGL, okay? TGL has a nice ring to it. It rolls off the tongue exceptionally well. Formed and founded by Tiger, Rory McIlroy. Basically, it's a large stadium-style golf simulation event. And it's a season event that here in a couple of weeks we'll have the playoffs. And the TGL playoffs will be comprised of LA, the Bay, New York, and Atlanta. Now, these teams have their own individual names, and you can kind of find a comparison here. And I got to talk to Sobo about this because I'm seeing some comparisons to another league that has also been mentioned, actually just was mentioned, and that is Live Golf. What are the similarities that we see between TGL and Live Golf? Let me paint you a picture for you. So basically, it's an arcade style. There's music playing. There's a party atmosphere. And I'm not talking about the Waste Management Open. Okay, we're not talking about that. That's a sanctioned event. That is a golf tournament. PGA Tour. It's arcade style. It's for fun. There might be beers flowing. Okay, and that's part of it. There's gimmies that are given. There's hammers that are brought down, and that is part of the rules, part of the dynamic of the sport, of the event itself. So basically, that's it. There is a arcade style aspect to the competition, and it makes it more fun, makes it a little bit more lighthearted, makes it not as serious as, going for the green in 2 on a par 5 in a sanctioned PGA Tour event with everything on the line. Okay, we're talking Sunday. We're talking it's hot out. It's 86 degrees, 80% humidity. We're in the Everglades. All right. We're in the Everglades. And the stakes are high. They're as high as they could ever be. We're not talking about that. We're talking about an air-conditioned facility that has a stadium of people. We're talking about a very large canvas screen that has a simulator embedded with it. Trackmans all over the place. Sensors all over the place. We got a rotating green that can rotate 360 degrees, that has bunkers, that has artificial green surfaces that bite. They bite. That's what I think that is just so amazing. And no one's been able to really explain that to me on how that can be done. Because you think about hitting a chip shot from 60 yards, and you want that ball to bite. You want it to check. Okay, for the people that don't know what I'm talking about, you want that ball to check. You want it to have some spin. And you want it to bite. You want it to stop quicker than it would if it didn't have bite. English, I guess, if you will. They do that with an artificial surface. I don't know how they do it, but it's quite amazing to see. So take a look for yourself. We got the playoffs coming up here, March 17th and 18th, 2025, here in a couple weeks' time. And it's gonna be a movie. It's gonna be a movie. I've watched a couple events. They're very intriguing. They're very exciting. I enjoy it, and I think it'd be even better to be there because I think the size of the screen, of the canvas, and how they integrate that with the actual green when you're so many yards in, I believe it's 7,500 yards, something like that. Then you play into the actual green. You play the rest of the hole out on the actual green like you would on a traditional course. But I think it'd be a hell of a thing. It'd be a hell of an experience to be there. Just to be there. That'd be nice. So check it out if you haven't already. It's a brand new thing brought out by Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. Very exciting stuff. Check it out. Moving on, let's talk about finance. Okay, so last night, Donald Trump, our president, addressed the nation, addressed Congress. Okay, and there was fireworks. But something that wasn't mentioned that I thought would have been mentioned, that is mentioned in this Reuters article, is the rise of cryptocurrency and how President Trump has embraced crypto in the modern economy with open arms. He wants to make it a part of the portfolio and the growth of the U.S.'s portfolio. Not only that, but it will also aid in reducing the deficit, which is astronomical. Okay, so I want to talk about the 5 cryptocurrencies that will be included in the reserve, the U.S. reserve. Basically, that's what they want to hold on to. That's what they want to be able to put their hands on. These are the 5 cryptocurrencies Trump wants in the U.S. to hold in reserve. Okay, number 1 is XRP, which is Ripple. Okay, fluctuates between $2, $3. XRP. 2, Solana, Sol. It has a crazy market cap, very high market cap, and it's very, very volatile pair. Okay, it has been hurt by its association with former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried, which we've talked about on numerous occasions, and the scandal and how much he has been attached to professional athletes with FTX on a plethora of our channels. We've talked about him. He's a familiar face. So that's caused it to be hurt, but it has had a good rebound due to its application in the real world, primarily with NFTs. And unfortunately, we got to give it some credit with its attribution to meme coins. Okay, meme coins, rug pulls. Okay, Hawk Tua coin, etc. A lot of these are on the Solana blockchain. 3 is ADA, which also is known as Cardano, founded in 2015 by Charles Hoskinson, a well-known U.S. tech entrepreneur and co-founder of the Ethereum blockchain project. Basically, it's an arm within the Ethereum blockchain that stands on its own. But that is number 3. 4 is Bitcoin, and 5 is Ethereum. So if you have those in your portfolio, you're probably feeling pretty good because those are going to be very sought after coins that will be held in U.S. reserves going forward in the future. And that's been something that's been publicly stated. Reuters is one of my news sources that I go to almost religiously just because it's not biased. And when I'm going for news, I want the hard truth. I want the objective angle on it. I want to hear the facts. I want to hear what's on the background. I want to hear what is the underlying conditions on why I'm being fed these objective facts. Now, if I'm going for some anecdotal stuff, or I'm going for stuff where I am anticipating the bias, then I have my outlets for that. Okay, and I'm sure you have outlets for your news as well. All I'm saying is go to your outlets of choice with a mindset in mind. Know what you're going there to find, because a lot of times you can get a good idea of what you're going to find with what narrative you want it to be painted with. I'm not saying any one of these narratives are fake or fake news or any of that. Okay. People that know me know where I stand when it comes to things. And sometimes biases can be good because they paint a bigger picture in an objective light. I'm just saying be careful. Not only that, but I'm saying widen your horizons when it comes to sources. Even go to sources that you maybe normally wouldn't go to, just to see the stark contrast between the two. And something like this, we're talking about finance, we're talking about the 5 major cryptocurrencies that will be held in reserve by the United States. It's an objective prompt that yields an objective response. And that's what we get. And that's what we get here. But that's why I like Reuters, because they formulate their story based on objective truth without biases included. So that's my Reuters plug for you. Reuters, where you at? Hit me up. We can get something going. We can make a deal. Moving forward, let's talk about gin gaming. Something that has came across my desk in recent days. It's mostly old stuff. Mostly old stuff that has become prevalent yet again. There's a game that I've picked up recently that I haven't touched in a while, and that is Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Now, this game is one of those games where you are flying around the map. At least when it dropped, I'm flying around the map. I am grabbing weapons. I'm changing weapons. I'm firing weapons. I'm executing melee attacks. I'm doing everything I want at the speed I want. This is one of the biggest, most grave of sins that you can do as a developers, guild, whatever you want to call it. Okay, as a company, a developer can never do this. Okay, and this is what basically was the nail in the coffin for EA with its FIFA franchise, now known as FC. You slow down, you nerf the speed of the gameplay. That's what Black Ops did. That's what they did. Okay? That's what they did. Now, I wish they didn't do it. I really wish they didn't do it. And they do this because they want to make it more realistic. Well, listen, if I wanted to play a game that I want to be a war simulator, or I want to be able to simulate real life, then I'm going to play Hell Let Loose. I'm going to play PUBG. I'll play something else. Okay, Escape from Tarkov. I'll play one of those games if I'm going for that. If I'm going for realism, if I'm going for no HUD, if I'm going for realistic movements, not being able to flick on opponents if I turn my sensitivity up to 9.7, then that's what I get. That's what I get. I get Escape from Tarkov. But I know what I'm getting before I get into it. Okay, it's kind of similar with the news thing. I know what I'm getting. I know the product I'm going to get, at least to a decent degree, before I get it, before I experience it in real time. They've nerfed the speed of things, and we can feel it. us gamers, and I think that's what's so important about taking breaks from games, is you can't really get phased out to the point where if you play this game consistently since it dropped until now, you will get phased out and you will kind of think, okay, well, it might be a little bit slower, but I don't really notice a big difference. Not really a big deal. Okay, whereas I play the game in, let's just say, November, right? Then I pick the game up in March, and I'm like, what the hell happened to this game? Because I'm looking at my connections, I'm checking my connections, I'm checking my pings, I'm doing network resets, clearing my cache, doing everything, things I normally don't do, actually, and it's doing nothing. I even updated my controller, I changed the batteries, I plugged it in with the cord, I moved closer to the console just to make sure that the wireless communication between the console and the controller wasn't being interfered with. Nothing worked. So I'm like, this must be the game. Sure enough, I stumbled upon a Reddit post, and they nerfed it. Not only that, but they nerfed a lot of the weapons as well. So, and it was stated in the Reddit post, but it can go without saying, nerfing things in games, especially FPS, first-person shooter games, it ruins the experience. Okay, now I get there's going to be guns that are OP, that are just kitted, and you're not going to be able to compete with them with really any other gun except that gun. Now, there's certain mitigation techniques that can be done to essentially nerf the weapon, but usually it has to do with TTK. It's not going to do with, ADS to fire time. You know what I mean? So have it deal with TTK, velocity of the bullets, something like that. But they're getting too technical with it, and they're trying to become too realistic, where it's taking it in a different direction, where it's not fun anymore. So to all developer groups out there, don't do that. Stop. That's what they did with FC. I don't know if it's the servers getting overloaded as well on top of the nerfing, but it's confirmed that the movements have been nerfed. That's the truth of the matter. So don't nerf the movements. If you do anything, nerf the weapons. Do something at TTK. Don't do anything else. Don't do anything else. Easier said than done, isn't it? Now, when it comes to FC, been playing a little bit of that. Been playing a little bit of co-op. Playing a little bit of online pubs. And it's been good. It's been fun. It's been smooth. I get pissed off at my team. Sometimes I'll get a bad connection, and that'll be between my console, my network, and the servers, which the servers in EA are garbage. So you might get 3-barred, I call it, which is 3 yellow bars at the top of the screen. You know the game's going to be ass because you have to have pinpoint pings when you're playing FIFA. You have to. You got to be within a 20 millisecond time delay or less. I'm saying I'd say 0.10. Okay, or 0.10 of a second, which I'd say is pretty damn close to 0.2 or 20 milliseconds, whatever you're going to do. Okay, too much math. I don't give a shit. You know what I'm talking about. 10 milliseconds, between 10 and 20 milliseconds of delay. Anything more than that is too much. It's way too much. Okay, and if you got delay and you got nerf speeds, not only in FC but in Black Ops, ay caramba. That's all I can say is that is ay caramba. In that same vein, we have leaks of GTA 6 coming out. Don't really know what's going to come out. We could be in retirement. Okay, I could be getting the mail and seeing I am no longer getting a Social Security check, which I already know I'm not going to. But I could be getting that notice in the mail in 2065. And GTA 6 might still not be out. Okay? So that's a reality we've been forced to deal with and live with. Verdansk is supposedly coming back to Warzone. That will be the day. That will be the day. It's going to be a hell of a time. Okay, I'm dropping Promenade East, and I'm looking for the Ram. And we're going hot and heavy. We might have to drop into some quads with that. when Verdansk comes back. That's going to be electric. You see a lot of these games doing it. You've seen it with Fortnite, bringing back the OG permanently, supposedly, or restarting all the seasons with all the skins and everything like that. Nostalgia has a hell of an effect, especially on these gamers that are playing a lot of the old Call of Duty games because they miss what they had with those games. There was a community that is still alive to this day for a lot of those old Call of Duty games. A lot of these old titles that the developers have reopened their servers because there's so much of a want to participate in these older games. And that's where you see the drive and the upsell on nostalgia with even newer titles. It's a powerful thing. Let's look and see what we have in the horizon. We have NHL playoffs, which are a little further out than we might think. They're a little further out. They're a ways out. But NHL is still hot and heavy. NBA, still hot and heavy, heating up. MLB is coming up on the horizon. Great golf tournaments are ahead of us, which we will get Sobo on the show to discuss those in detail. But I'd say the nearest and dearest thing that we have to our hearts right now is March Madness. So that's what we're looking forward to. That's what we're focused on. And that's what we are basically dialed into in this point in time. At least me. That's what I am. So we got some guys that want to discuss college. We got some new familiar faces. Familiar faces, a great mix. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for all of our updates. And also be on the lookout for this, the GSN Sports Network Challenge 6, which is scheduled for September 13th, 2025. A fall tournament. It's a fall tournament. Okay, might be a little bit colder weather. It might still be hot as balls out. Okay, just because you get into September, it's still pretty hot. So the registration form will be dropping for that very soon. So be on the lookout for that on all of our social media channels. We'll keep you updated. No matter what. We'll leave it at that, though. Check us out on all of our links in the link tree in the bottom of this podcast in the description. Check us out on our website, ginsportsnetwork.com. Check us out on IG at Gin Sports Network and at Gin Promotions. And check us out on Twitter at Gin Pros. We'll see you guys here next time. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Gin Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, as always, John J. II. Have a great night.